look at the pictures and not see any of the text. What are they doing, right? So I use this a lot for listening activities. I don't want the students to have any background information. I want them to look at the picture and tell me what they think that conversation is going to be about, or what are the people doing, what color shirt is she wearing, what color is his hair. So you can do so much with a picture, right? So you can use it in different ways.
So that, when did you hit the toolbar?
I hit the toolbar. Let's take a step back and do it together. I'm going to hide the toolbar. So the toolbar is always up here.
Oh, I see.
Okay?
Wrench.
Yes. And when you click on it, it's going to show up right at the top of the page. You can move the toolbar out of the way, or you can click and make it vertical and get it out of the way as well. Whatever tool you're using, when you click on it, it will turn orange. Okay? So again, I'm going to slide that up, and now you see it all. This is my favorite tool. I use it all the time. And then I also love the radius, the little flashlight. Same idea, but you have that in Zoom if you use Zoom. So you would be able to, again, change the radius and focus on specific parts of the lesson. So same idea, but you can use it for different activities in different ways. Click on both and get out of this. You also have, put it right here. If you want to gamify different activities and have your students compete, you can keep score, divide the class into 2 teams, and you can have them answer different questions. You got it right, you get a point, and so on. So a lot of students are very competitive, right? They love games. So you can do that with different activities. You can also keep track of how much time you're giving them to do different activities. So in this case, let's say that you're having students role play this activity and you want them to spend 5 minutes doing this. So you're going to add 5 minutes to the timer. You can be walking around. You're not worrying about looking at your watch. When the 5 minutes are over, it's going to, it can be, pay attention to the volume you have on because it can be loud and startle you, but it would alert you that the time is up and you would move on to something else. So if you want to keep track of, again, how much time is being spent on different activities, you could use this. So click around. All the different tools can be used for different activities in different ways. You might want to highlight words that you want students to focus on the pronunciation. You have a teacher's note option. So let's say that a student asks you a question that is not related to what you're doing at that time. You want to acknowledge that question and go back to it a later time. You can type whatever the question was and tell the students, we'll come back to this at the end of class, and then it will show you on the little icon, a little number, that you have something written there. Maybe this activity is something that students have struggled with during different classes that you taught, and you want to have a note to remind yourself that you want to teach that activity in a different way or focus on that topic and review with your students and so on. You could also use it as an extension to whatever you're doing, right? Maybe you're asking your students to give you examples on something you're doing. You can be typing the answers and everybody can see it. So you can use it in different ways. Again, you can break it, so play with it and see if it works for you. All right? Very good. And again, every lesson in Burlington ends with a game. All the games are vocabulary review. You can end your lesson with a game. You can start your next lesson by reviewing the vocabulary you taught in your previous lesson by playing a game with your students. See if they're ready for a new lesson, or if you need to go back and review what you've done first before you can move on. The games are, again, you will have either a memory game, Connect 4, Spin the Wheel, and Tic-Tac-Toe. All right? Any questions about any questions about the teacher's book, what you have to teach with?
Did you say that the games were always vocabulary based?
Always vocabulary review, yes.
No matter the level.
No
So just to clarify, when you're in teacher's mode, it truly is what you're presenting, right? The worksheets are not gonna be saved on their account or anything like that. This isn't something they can do solo. It's for a teacher to present.
They will have solo activities that will look like what you've done in class, but they are all new activities on the same topic. So it's all about reinforcement. But they should not be looking at their screens as you're presenting. You want them to engage, to participate, and then they have a chance to practice at home with the student lessons, and we'll look at them in just a minute.
Got it.
Okay? All right. With that being said, I'm gonna go back to the first picture. Actually, I'm gonna get out of basics just to show you what happens when you go to low beginners or higher. So you saw that in basics we had listening, speaking, sometimes writing, all in the same lesson, right? Now if we go to the next level and we click on the teacher's book, instead of 9 units, now you have 10. And within every unit, you always have 8 lessons. You always start with listening and speaking, and you end with writing. And there are 3 grammar lessons in every unit. So always the same, but again, it's progressive. So you're adding more difficult topics, vocabulary, and so on as you go through the lessons. When you click on an actual lesson, you will still have a lot of visuals, text, and audio, but it's going to be much more expensive. You have more to work with. So you always start with a short description of the lesson, the objectives of the lesson, and then you move on to a warm-up activity. Great place to use the toolbar, hide the text, ask the students to describe what they see, what they think is happening. And many times in the warm-up activities or the listening activities, you will see now new questions. So you gave them the context, they got to practice with you, now they're going to share what their experience with that topic is, or have a chance to ask you questions before you continue with the lesson. So it's, again, all about giving students a chance to participate, to share, and ask questions. Same idea, you go through the whole lesson here. When you get to listening activities in the more advanced level, sometimes you have a warm-up activity, so you see here that you can't see all the pictures on the screen. So you always find a full screen icon right there, and now you see it all. Okay? To go back to seeing all the activities again, you either hit escape or you click on the little gray bar at the top of the page, and then you're back to seeing all the numbers again. One day I'll get my wish that we can always have full screen and still see the activities, so you don't have to go back, but they haven't granted my wish yet. I asked for a lot, so I'm thankful with what they do. Anyway, when you move to the listening activities, the audio will always be at the top of the page. So you don't have to close what you're doing and go find the audio in a different window. And let's play just a little bit of it.
Hi, I'm Gabriella, and I'm from Colombia.
I'm going to pause it. Speed is good, but maybe your students need you to slow down a little bit. Just like on YouTube, you will have the option of slowing down or speeding up. The question I always get, why do you speed up with 3 options and you slow down with 1? Because it gets to be so mechanical that it's not natural anymore. So there's just so much you can slow down and sound natural. So that's why. You also have access to the transcript here. So if your students listen, and this is also new, if your students listen to the audio once, twice, and they're still struggling with it, you might want to have that transcript up there on the screen. You can also print the transcript. It's with the lesson plans. So you can either use it here, or I many times will turn the transcript into an activity. So I will go to the lesson plan, I will open the audio script, and then go back. Oops. Play the audio.
Hi, I'm Gabriella, and I'm from Colombia.
You have the students
I live in Los Angeles with my family, my husband, my daughter, and my
You could, again, have the students role play. You can look at the dialogue and ask vocabulary questions. You can ask them to change the names and talk about themselves, but you can have that up there on the screen, or you can print. I'm always pro, let's not print a lot. Let's, make it digital so the students are learning all these tricks as well, but you would have access to both. So this is the main difference between, again, the first basics level and then all the other levels. As you get more advanced, every lesson will be on one specific language skill instead of several activities in the same lesson, as we saw on the basics level. Is anyone here teaching an advanced class?
I have an advanced student.
Okay, so the advanced level is also a little bit different. You don't have 10 units, you have 8, but you also have, so you see that the lessons, the units are shorter, not 8 lessons anymore, you have 5. But you also have, when you go to the worksheets, at the end of every unit, you will have projects and extra reading activities.
Okay.
So that's how you get to the same number of hours, but now you're getting your students to present, put a PowerPoint together, interview someone. So, same amount of content but being presented in a different way because they're getting ready to transition out of adult education and maybe go to college or pursue their GED, ISET, whatever it is, right? Tell me if you have access to advanced English. Did I give your program this? This course had been discontinued and we brought it back. So if you have advanced students who are really advanced, I can give you access to these 2 courses. It's more aligned with a more academic curriculum. So the grammar is presented more like a K-12 classroom grammar. You have a lot of worksheets on reading and also a lot of focus on teaching students how to write different types of essay, 5-paragraph essays, how to do it the right way. So do you have that? Do you see it?
I only see 2.
You should not have the first 3. It's really the last 2. The other, so just advanced English 1 and advanced English 2. Do you have it?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good.
So that's where we would find,
The more advanced content,
Yeah.
if you have students who need to be challenged, that they are, even the advanced level students.
and for writing, which one would be for helping with writing?
Both advanced English 1 and advanced English 2. Mine. But because this is an older course, you don't have the teacher's book. You'll have the student lessons, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So you see that there is no green bar.
Yeah.
But you can use these student lessons, but what I would really use is the worksheets. When you click on worksheets, you're going to have a lot of resources to work with.
You said this can be emailed, right? Through
It's
as a
going to, yes,
link.
every worksheet is an individual link. So you can either download and send your students that worksheet, or you can do it with them in class, or you can print and use it with it. Okay?
Okay, so they do the worksheet. Is there a way to go over it with them?
Yes, so you can review it in class with them, or they can complete that. And if they have the digital literacy skills, they can mail that back, save it, and then send it back to you.
Okay.
Some students have a hard time with that. You can have them take a picture and send it to you, whatever. I would teach them how to save it and then email it to you, because again, you're teaching them another skill, but I know it's very different, and every student has a different level of digital literacy
Right.
skills. So.
Can I
But
ask
yes.
one second?
No, go ahead, Maria.
So they can type onto the worksheets?
You're fillable.
I didn't know that.
You're fillable. Not on the phone though, and I just learned that. Been with the company for 4 years, and I was trying on my phone. I'm like, wait a minute. So you cannot. It's not fillable on the phone unless you download like a PDF editor on the phone.
To make it fillable, I
Just
just
click
click
on
this link up here?
It's already clicked. It's already fillable.
Well, I mean, when I share it with them, I share that link.
Yes,
I send
just
it to
click
them,
it.
and they open it, and then they can just fill
And they
it,
can just fill it.
and save it however they want.
Yes. That's it. All right. with your students. It's not a traditional classroom set. So let's say that again. You're doing learning circles, you're doing one-on-one or with two different students. The idea for learning circles is that the students are getting a chance to practice their speaking skills, they're asking questions and so on. So instead of doing a full lesson on writing, for example, I would focus on lessons that are on listening and speaking or watch and speak. So every unit, again, starting with low beginners, will have a lesson that has a video. So you can watch that video with your students and then have them talk about it. Or you can do the audio from the listening and speaking as well, right? So for example, here we are talking about meeting neighbors. You can have subtitles on.
How did you get to this watch and speak? It's under the in-class?
It's under the in-class lesson, so let me take a step back. In every level, starting with low beginners.
Oh, I see.
Lesson number 5 is always watch and speak. So always different videos that you can show your students in class. Okay? And the icon is always at the top of the page. Whatever activity you're doing, you can print the worksheet and have the students fill that out after they watch the video. And you'll be able to, again, slow it down, speed it up, have subtitles or not, but it gives you more to work with. Now, before we talk about other courses, let's say that we finished this lesson, right? You went through, again, if you're working one-on-one, you picked activities that are more engaging. Maybe you introduce your students to the vocabulary. And then you play an audio and ask them questions or ask them what they understand and so on. I would do the speaking activities, especially again, if you are working with small groups and you want them to practice. All the speaking activities will either be pair work or group work. So if you have a few students, it gives them a chance to practice. If you have, if it's one-on-one, it's you and that student, and there will be prompts and you're following the different activities. Now, let's say that you finish this lesson, and now your students are going to do independent work, right? So how do you show them what to do, what they have access to? So we are going to use the 3 little dots and go to the student lessons. Right away, you will see that students see the same exact picture they saw in class with you. But your book was green, their book is blue. As you go through the activities, I would recommend that you do a lesson with them until they become more familiar with the platform. They will, again, many times see the same pictures, but the questions will be different, right? So they would type the answers, in this case for this activity, and I'm going to make a mistake here. And students will have to check their answers to see if they got it right or wrong. It will show them in green what they got right. It will show them in red what they got wrong. Many times the students will type the correct answer, but maybe they didn't use punctuation or capital letters. So if they don't understand why they made a mistake, you can click on the X, and now it will show them the correct answer. Okay, that happened to me many times when I started. I'm like, but the answer is right! And it was maybe because I didn't capitalize or I didn't punctuate, and then it shows you what you missed.
So the idea is they would follow this while you're doing the class lesson?
The activities are different. So remember,
They do
the
this at
topic,
home, like
Yeah,
yeah.
do this at home afterwards?
Yes.
Okay.
But I would do it in class with them once, or maybe for the first week of class. Even if you don't do the full lesson, you do a couple of activities so they understand that they need to click the check button. They need to check their score. And you can set goals, right? You cannot move to a new activity until you get 60% of the answers correct. So it's up to the teacher on what the expectations are. But some of the activities will be very different from what they've done in class with you. So in class, if you're teaching vocabulary or if you're doing a speaking activity, you can pair students up, you can put them in groups, they can ask you questions. At home, they will have to record themselves pronouncing words or doing a role play activity to be able to get the answers they're looking for. And that happens right away with the first vocabulary activity in every lesson. So students will have a list of words. They will listen to that word.
Auto mechanic.
They will see a microphone. They will click that microphone once. The microphone will flash and they will speak.
Auto mechanic.
And it will give them feedback. They can listen to the recording.
Auto mechanic.
And then they will also have access to translations of the words in their language. Now, students love this activity, but sometimes they get frustrated with the microphone. If you have more than one person in the room, do not have them record. Yes, do not have them do it unless you have headphones for them.
Yes.
Because it's all the background noise, the computer, the microphones are very sensitive, right? So it picks up on all the background noise and it's chaos and it's very frustrating. So I would demonstrate in class and then have them do it at home so they get it right.
I think I've heard that the program starts to make the practice specific to the student once they've done a certain amount of, how, if you just explain that a little bit?
So this little icon at the top of the page, you will always see it if you are a teacher and if your account is set to any language other than English. So if you are in your teacher account right now and you don't see this icon, it's because your teacher account has English only as your language. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Do you see the icon right now? No? Okay. So you will click on your initials and you will click edit and you will choose, give yourself a different mother tongue. Even if you don't speak another one, it's fine. This is here just for you to model for your students where to find the translated instructions and where to find the translated vocabulary, and then again to have access to the pronunciation course. Now, even though the pronunciation course was designed for students, you can use it in class. So let's say that you have a lot of students that struggle with the TH sound, right? So I'm going to close this. So I can save you a list of where to find the sounds, the different languages, but let's say, for example, that I click as a teacher on my little icon.
As in heat.
Again, my first example is not what I was looking for, but if you have French speakers, Haitian Creole speakers, this is a sound they struggle with. So you could do this lesson with your students, and all the lessons will follow the same format. The first activity, you have 4 examples where the teacher pronounces a word,
Hotels.
and then it shows the students what they did, how they pronounced that word. So again, for teachers, it's a demo account, so it's always pre-recorded, it's not accurate. So I usually skip this. But if I want the students to understand how to pronounce that sound, I go right to the video. And this is what the video does.
You are not saying you are saying eat instead of heat. To say the sound,
She's tough, huh?
relax your mouth
I'm scared.
and breathe out strongly.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying. That's something terrifying. We use a mirror in class.
Do you?
Yes, we have mirrors here.
That's a good idea, so you can see what your mouth looks like. Are you gonna fog it up?
First,
I've seen teachers use tissues as well. The tissue has to move.
yes,
so-
yes, the paper.
Or
We use
the paper,
paper too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that works. So this is one example, right? But let's say that I was looking for a sound that is not the one that popped up for me in my teacher account. All you have to do is close it and click on it again, and now you get a second sound. For every language, you have 4 sounds that can be used as examples. So it wasn't designed for teachers, it is designed for students, and they will get a lesson on the sound they need to work on. So as they're recording themselves, going through the vocabulary list or going through the speaking activities, The software is collecting the sounds and patterns they're struggling with, and after about an hour, it gives them access to that little icon. So that's how they get that. So the more recording they do, more access to different sounds they get. But I like doing it in class and showing them the video, and then I will do the first activity with them. So they get to listen to 2 sounds and then a new word. So for example,
As in booth.
or,
As in boot.
and they would have watched the video, and then they listen to a new word,
Mouth.
and then they have to drag that word to the right side. And there are always 10 examples. So again, some sounds, if you have many different nationalities, there are certain sounds like the TH that everybody struggles with, right? But if you have a lot of students who are, like me, Brazilian, the ED at the end of the past tense, we pronounce it all, so it's always there. If you have Spanish speakers, the V's and the B's, the L's are different. So you can pick different sounds and have everybody work on it, but some students will struggle with it more than others. But it gives you something, and the students, oh my God, teacher, I want that! And you can tell them, the more recording you do, the sooner you have access to this. Okay?
One more thing, the nice thing about this is that the work that the students do at home on their student account automatically shows up in our database, so you don't have to try to figure out how much they did at home. You know what I mean? So when you're trying to report homework hours, distance learning hours, you don't have to do that if it's just Burlington English, because it goes in automatically.
And with that being said, you had to really reinforce that students are logged in at home before. So we just created an update. So now every 3 hours, if the students are not active in their accounts, it will log them out
That's
and
awesome.
have them log back in, and it will ask them where they are. So that just got released on Monday.
That's fantastic.
Okay, so that will help with getting accurate hours as well. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me just go into a student.
Real quick, before you go back, can you remind me how we got here? I was trying to repeat what you did.
Oh,
Into
the
the blue.
pronunciation part?
Yeah, into the blue versus the green.
Oh, yeah, so click on the 3 little dots.
Yeah, student, classroom.
So I went from in-class lessons, I just clicked on student lessons. So you are in student lessons right now. So click on any other icon, and then click on the 3 little dots again, and then
And
student
there's student
lessons.
lessons,
Yes.
okay, got it, thank you.
Of course. So let me just go into one of my student accounts here.
I think you know everything, and you learn a lot more.
Yeah.
Always, right?
Yeah.
So when your students first log in, it will ask them if they are away from school, so it shows the little house. I don't know why you can't just say home, but, and then it has the school with the little teacher. If you're working with true beginners, if you click on the globe, it will translate for them, and it's easier for them to understand, okay? So let's say that they were in class with you and they chose at school. By the time they get home 3 hours later, and I want it to be, if they're not active for 30 minutes, I wanted to automatically ask them to log in again, but I guess it gets to be too much if you're in class. But it will ask them again the same question. And then if they got home, they will choose at home. So you still should show them that little window. I can send screenshots if that helps. So teachers have that and they can have it on the screen for the first day of class. But it will always ask the students that question.
What's the benefit to them clicking at school, just so that
Well,
it logs it as
Some
class
programs
hours?
don't have Chromebooks and the students are using their phones. So they're using the same device. So before they would have to they would save their password and get home, and it's not, they are not logging out and back in. So it was just tracking whatever they chose when they came to class. Now it's automatically logging them out and they have to select. It's more for programs that don't have more devices that students can
But we
use.
want them to use the at school when they're in class, so it doesn't log the hours separately from what they're doing, is that the reason?
Yes, because
Okay.
if you don't select away from school, it's going to always track as if they were in class, so you're not getting proxy hours.
Okay.
Oh.
So they need to choose that they are away from school.
So if they choose at school, then it doesn't get logged into the system at all?
Not in places now.
Okay. That's
So
interesting.
Courtney has been really pushing for that to be done correctly.
Do you guys understand that?
No.
We log the students' hours, right, based on how many hours they spend in class and how many hours they spend on homework. So if they're logging in as at school, they're not getting additional hours for it because those hours are already counted as hours they were in class or in a tutoring session with you. So when they log in as at home, they're getting additional credit hours. Does that make sense?
It does.
So does the tutor session, is that at school?
Yeah, because you're logging, like you're already telling me about that time you spent with them,
Yes.
right? Because
So
even though they're on Burlington English, it's part of the
we
tutoring
want to
session.
know what they're doing extra.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. Okay.
That's why you want like a 30-minute log out so that it's just more accurate.
Because they're gonna race home and do Burlington English.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah, they're gonna-
As soon as they leave us.
3 hours.
They don't get yelled at anymore.
Can they log out on their own and log back in again?
They
Okay.
can, yes, as long as they know how to do that, but many students, what we're struggling with is that many students would save their password and then throw the paper away and they didn't know if they logged out, how to log back in again. So they were just keeping the in-class work and then no proxy hours were being recorded, so that's the idea. Okay? All right, any questions about what the teacher lesson looks like and what the student lesson looks like? I'm gonna go back to the student lesson one more time here. So the main difference again, is your students are not looking at their digital book when you're teaching them. They are interacting with you, you can print worksheets, you can hand them to the students, they can do it digitally. And then when you finish your lesson, they will do homework on what they learned in class with you. Same topics, new activities for reinforcement, that's the idea. You can ask them to go through the whole lesson, you can pick specific activities you want to do with them. If you're doing one-on-one and you really have a limited amount of time, you might just use the student lessons and teach from that lesson and have the students work on the lessons with you during that one-on-one time. That's also okay. The only thing is, again, the speaking activities will be set up a little bit differently from the teacher's book where they're more engaging, right? But you can still do a role play with your students. And one person is the teacher, the other person is Amir. And you can still role play with them. But you can see again, this is a speaking activity, so you have the microphones, they will be recording the answers and so on. I love this activity for students who are already picking up on their English but still struggle with listening. So you can hide the text and have them listen and not see what's written to see how much they understand.
How'd you hide?
So right at the bottom of the page, I click on the hide text button. Is that new too? Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's always so much. The problem is at some point I start losing people in different activities. So that's why the more we repeat, the more we learn, right? But it is the same in every course. So the high text is here. Sometimes you will have 2 characters to choose from. So until you choose the second character, you're not going to be able to hide the text and do different stuff. You can also print the transcript, or you can just blow that up on the screen. But if you have a big class and some students are sitting in the back and it's hard for them to see, right? You can print that and give it to them. So many of the teacher book activities are not printable, but you can come to the student activity, print that, and practice with them anyway. Okay? Another thing that the students have access to is translated instructions. So the little globe at the top of the page, when they click on it, it will translate instructions to their first language. So again, they're home, they're not in class with you, they can't ask questions. You want to make sure that they understand how to do the homework. So the whole activity is still in English, but the instructions are translated. And if it is a vocabulary activity, you have the little globe with the words translated to the student's first language as well. All right? Any questions?
Is that just for the low beginner, or is that?
Every level but advanced. Advanced, they should not need translations,
Yeah.
so that's the only one.
When they work at home, the teacher can check that they, yes?
Yes. So, I'm gonna go to the three little dots again. You will go to progress,
Okay.
and you will be able to see your whole class or classes, okay? So these are all the students in my class. You can click on the students' progress right here. This is gonna give you a drop down with all the different units. So let's say that we are working on unit 1, and we wanna see the progress for the homework, lesson 1, listening and speaking. I'm going to click on it. It shows you in the individual student progress, or you can click on your whole class, and it will give you the progress for the whole group. Now remember, before you would have to export this data and upload to LACES, now it's all done automatically for you. Okay? Just for New Hampshire so far. You guys are our pilot state. So be proud. But you could still look at individual progress. And this is done lesson by lesson, right? Has anyone taken advantage of the module tests yet? Yes. You
I
like
did,
that?
in fact, I just did it, just
Yeah?
the first time I did, housing,
Good, good.
How did it go?
really well.
That's
Yeah,
good.
they did very well. We did it on the projector.
That's okay,
Yeah.
you can do it all with the whole class together. So
Yeah.
let me show you what the tests look like. So you have, again, it's for the unit, right? So let's say that we finished unit 1, personal information. You as a teacher can view the test, so you see what your students are going to be asked. So you have vocabulary and grammar questions, you have listening questions, and then you have life skills. There is no writing and there is no speaking because it's self-corrected in the platform. So we are working on integrating, again, writing and speaking and having AI do all the corrections, but it's not quite there yet. But it's a review of everything they've learned. It follows the same format as the student lesson, so they are familiar with checking a box, or typing the answers, or clicking the play button for audio, and so on. You can assign a test to all the students, and you would do that by clicking assign. It will ask you for the date of when you want to release the test to your students. So let's say that you want to assign this test for tomorrow morning. I'm going to say 9 a.m. I want to give my students 60 minutes to take the test. You can give them as much as you want. You can give them less time or more time. It's not going to limit how much time you can give them. You can set the due date for the same day if you're doing the test at home. If it is Friday and you want them to have the weekend to work on the test, you can set that due date for Sunday night. And tell them they have until 10 p.m. to finish the test. You can select individual students who were present in class that day, or you can assign to your whole class. And then you're going to click Save, and now the test is here for your students. They will see a box when they log into their accounts flashing saying that they have a module test to complete. They click on it and they start the test. Now, if you gave them 3 days to start the test, if they click start, they need to finish on the duration of time you gave them. They cannot log out and go back to it.
I'm just gonna stop just to say, it was great, I learned a lot.
Yes, that's right.
Not that I didn't think I would, but I learned so much more than I
I'm
thought.
recording it too, so I can send you the
Thank
rest of
you.
what you missed. All right, thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. TC, can we assign the test more than once, so if they do
It's
it?
always the same test, so
Right,
yes, you
right.
can.
Okay.
And sometimes the student wasn't able to finish in 60 minutes, you want them to do it again, you can just come here and assign the same test again.
Awesome.
It's just gonna be in different little tabs. But when you click on your progress, so going back to progress again, you can check the student work, you can check vocabulary practice, and you can check the test results as well. One thing to remember, and it is when you assign, it shows you when you assign the test. If you assign the test and the, not the release date, the end date is 3 days from now, you will not see the results until that date. So we've asked them to change it. I'm gonna keep on asking, because sometimes your students finish early and you wanna see their results, but it goes by the date that you set, so you just have to wait until then. Okay, but it would give you a little eye icon right here, and then you can see that this student has not taken the test. If the student had taken the test, it would show you the student's score, and then you have the option of clicking to view the test and correct with them. So I would say assign the test, do it with the students, and then just go to your view option and correct as a class with everybody, right? You have the answers. So have the students open their progress, open their tasks, and then they can be looking at the answers with you, and they can ask you questions about answers that they might have gotten wrong and they still don't understand why they got it wrong.
Do the tests have to be done away from school, or can they be done at school? Okay, great.
Okay? All right, I know we're running out of time, and I want to be respectful of your time. I can stay a little later if we have more questions, but I just want to point out a few different courses where the career ones are and where to find practice for interviews and so on. So we focused mostly on the general English course, right? All the other courses will focus, will follow the same format. You have the numbers at the top. The students who have the numbers, they can check their answers, they have translations, it's always the same. But the focus and the content will change. So for example, the civics course will have, I love this course, it's not supposed to be used as your main curriculum because it's not 100% aligned to the LPs and CCRs, but it's all about becoming part of the community, and for students who are preparing for the citizenship test, we have the questions here. So when you go into the course, you'll see that the modules will be on digital literacy, on diversity, on emergency. So you got into an accident, what do you say when you call 911, right? Stuff that they need for everyday life. Transportation, recognizing traffic signs, talking to a police officer. If you went to the doctor, you got a prescription. How do you get that prescription filled? How do you understand the label? So stuff that is important for everyday life. Housing, how to fill out the rental application, and so on. So the lessons here will focus a lot on vocabulary and then communication. So all about role play activities. So many of the topics will align with the general English course, and you can supplement with what you have here. There are more worksheets here. So even if you're not using the actual lessons, you could print the worksheets or share them with your students and supplement something that you've done in core, or they ask you a question about something that you have here. Just give them something else to work on to answer that question. Great for learning circles as well, because it's all about just vocabulary and conversation. That's what the course is.
Casey, if we have a really enthusiastic student who finishes the homework that goes along with the lesson we taught in class, is there another place that would, we could give them homework from that would align with the level that we're teaching?
So let's say, for example, it's in every course. So on top of the student lessons, the students also have access to vocabulary practice apart from the vocabulary practice they did in the lesson. When you click on it, they can practice vocabulary in two different ways. They can go right to the lesson they did in class with their teacher, and again, they're going to be practicing mostly pronunciation, so they listen to the word. Antibiotic, they get to record themselves, so again, more recording practice to get access to that pronunciation course. But they also have an example sentence, so they are learning vocabulary in context. So it gives them a chance to practice that word in the right context. So this is one activity they can do. There's also this little circle, I call it the donut circle or the hamburger bun. When you click on it, it's like Quizlet. Students will have a ton of activities that they can practice different vocabulary. Again, Here, only 26 words because we are looking at one lesson, right? So this would be the vocabulary from that lesson. But you can do, or they can do it independently, fill in the blank activities. And it will give them many times phrasal verbs and collocations to practice, not just individual words. And there are 3 pages of activities here that they can do. They check their answers. And you can see, oops, to get out of it. You can see how many different activities they have just for this lesson to practice the vocabulary. So it's engaging, it's fun, and gives them a chance to do more on the lesson that you just did in class with them. Okay?
That's awesome, yeah, thank you. Can you show the hamburger bun again? I missed that.
It is hidden at the bottom of the page.
Okay, I see it.
So
Okay.
it's right at, always at the bottom.
Got
of
it.
the round.
Thank you
Okay?
so much, this is great.
Of course. All right,
And
so
spinning.
I know, but I'm recording this, so we'll send it to you and watch it.
there's a lot.
I did get a little lost just with, I loved her question, but then I kind of got lost with where you went on the. So she's talking about if you're teaching a lesson and then they have their own corresponding section when they go home, they do their homework there. And if they finish everything there, then where did you go?
So within the same lesson, you always have that list of components. I went to vocabulary practice.
Okay,
So
okay.
they finish the student lesson, they want more, there is a vocabulary practice